just going to talk very briefly about the interpretive signage in Rindoon. Sometimes the best way to deal with consents is to go around consents, and we had that kind of issue in Rindoon, which is an abandoned medieval town and a peninsula jutting out into Loch Reeds, and a place of immense beauty and importance. It's probably the finest abandoned medieval town in Ireland or Great Britain. It's or even the Western Norman world. This is the town wall. We've been helping out the local community. Kieran and Christopher here representing Rindoon, and they've done some fantastic work on the peninsula. And if it wasn't for the local community getting involved and actually starting the whole process, it wouldn't be a tourist attraction. It wouldn't be open. It would be in ruins. And their intervention, 2008, 2009, was a great time. It was great timing. There's a bit of money that was still there, a small bit of money, and as a team, we've all done some fantastic work. Ivor McElveen has served as the engineer, and he's provided some fantastic advice on actually minimum intervention, and the whole process of conservation is about doing as much as necessary and as little as possible. And that's value for money. That's Rindoon, the peninsula. You can see, that's the town wall. It goes all the way around the neck of the peninsula. There's the medieval hospital. The castle's over there. There's a church. There's a few houses around there. That's actually a planted forest, a deer, stocked with deer. There's a mill up there as well. And that was the harbour that brought it its wealth, because it was a trading town. But it was the high water mark for the initial Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, and after 100 years or so, in the 14th century, essentially it was abandoned. It was sacked too many times by the Gaelic Irish, and then it was bypassed by the roads. So we had this place of fantastic preservation, and so working with the professionals and working with the local community, we're doing a lot of conservation work, but we'd also have to do some interpretation. And oftentimes when I think about, a friend of mine kind of sent me this. They thought it was hilarious, leave them like this, and I think this is actually a really good illustration of bad interpretation. It's a lake. Interpretation is not about listing facts. Interpretation is about communicating the meaning and the significance of a place. And that's what you should be thinking about. Facts are boring. They don't inspire. Interesting stories that connect with the audience, that's what's going to resonate. And also I just wanted to say that interpretation is not just signage. In Ireland we have an automatic disposition towards doing an interpretive panel. It's like straight away, what are we going to do? I know, an interpretive panel. But there's lots of ways of doing a heritage interpretation. This is an archaeological dig in Vindolanda, in north of England, the Roman site. There's also a fantastic archaeological excavation going on every summer in Trim, in the Black Abbey. In Rothouse, in Kilkenny, this is actually a medieval garden that has been fully restored, and some nice geese or ducks. I can never remember which one it is. They're an odd breed. They go around, so in September you can eat these kind of varieties of apples that existed in the Middle Ages. So you can smell the flowers. The herbs are varieties of herbs that existed in the Middle Ages, and these little things go around you, quacking away, and it's a very nice immersive experience. It would be a better immersive experience if you didn't have the piped music from SuperValue across the road ruining your buzz. Also, you can have these kind of structures that were rebuilt in Vindolanda based on archaeological excavations, and this is cool. Kids are running around having a great time. That's memory. They'll never, unless it's a Roald Dahl book or some fantastic pop-up book or whatever, they don't remember stuff, kids, but they'll remember this. This is a fantastic experience running around. In Buttafant, we have a couple of representatives in Buttafant, and they have a couple of fantastic murals along the main street that are really kind of evocative, and they've made people get out of their cars and kind of walk around the town. Again, it's not just signage, and this is a simple little thing. This is outside Chichester in southern England. The Down and Wheeled Open Air Museum, which is basically a scrappage yard for medieval and Renaissance structures that were going to be demolished throughout the south of England, and they were re-erected in this one place in outside Chichester. but they have over 100 volunteers that help to interpret the site. And this lady here, she was after baking this bread in a medieval oven, and I was like, "Where'd you get the butter from?" And she goes, "I made it." And she goes, "How'd you make it?" And we didn't have churns back then, so I made it with my hands. And so she actually churned the butter with her hands. A volunteer did that. I hope she had good sanitation. Anyway, and then this is an Athenryde's medieval remains exposed on the kind of the way into the town. Another nice way. Again, this could have just been covered over, but no, it's another kind of a little kind of pearl in the necklace of the kind of the tourist trail in Athenry. And of course, having interpretation as part of your daily routine is a fantastic way of actually bringing people to heritage. Sometimes you'll always have an audience that will go to heritage, but if you actually can, because we live in this amazing country that's heritages everywhere, we can just figure out, the interesting stories. We can actually just communicate these things to people and get them involved in heritage, even those who may not have done so. In every town, not every town, a lot of towns around the country, there's a big drive to have a heritage centre. Be very careful. It's interesting. Some of the projects around here, even in Carlingford and even in Beara Peninsula, another project done in Cork, they're multi-use sites. You should not, my own opinion, if you want to have a tourist attraction and it's to be a heritage centre, it should be attracting at least 15,000 people a year. It should be. If it's not, if you just want it as a heritage centre and it's to communicate the values of what's important, you think is important with your place, fine, but don't mix up heritage and tourism, too much, because you might have a white elephant after a while. So you have to be very careful of that. One of the ways, a little experiment we did a few years ago in Kilkenny was we did a kind of pop-up museum over four Thursdays in Kilkenny, in the main thoroughfare, the place highest footfall. We did a pop-up museum with lectures, an archaeological dig, plays. We even worked with the local food market. We popped up on the day the food market popped up, and over 4 Thursdays we had 3,200 people. Some heritage centres get 4,000 people a year. So, cost-benefit analysis. If you build it, you own it. You own it forever. So if you're thinking about doing something really substantial, I think it's good examples. Make sure it has as many uses as possible, and that you have a good business case for it. And I think in fairness, in Youghal, for instance, they have a good business case for what's going on in Youghal, built on a large degree of information, for instance, that actually allowed them to reach the conclusion that having a visitor centre in the clock tower would work, and it is working. But you really have to base what your decision making for if you're going to do a substantial project, not on your heart, mostly on your head, I would think, because it could really come out to hurt you in 5-10 years' time when the energy goes and the committee goes. That was just the inside of the tent. We allowed people to actually hold archaeological artifacts, which was revolutionary, but again, it allowed people to tangibly connect with the past, which is a very unusual thing in Ireland. Usually archaeological objects behind glass screens. We allowed kids to have a good fun on with making Bronze Age pots. Just moving on now to the signage issue. I think if you're looking at good quality signage, there's two kind of concepts. One is if you want one sign to do a whole site. Then another one is actually if you want several sites on the one site. This is, I think, a good example of good practice. This is from Northern England along Hadrian's Wall again. It's a single interpretive panel for a whole Roman fort. And I think it's good for several reasons. First of all, it has several layers of information, which allows the reader to dip in and dip out as they wish. So, for instance, it just tells you what it is. It's a Roman fort. Thank you very much, because all you see is grassy mounds everywhere. So now you know what it is. Some people will just walk on, thanks. But if you want to read a bit more, there's like 50 words. Gives you a bit more information. If you want some more information, here it is. And then there's kind of the wider context here, how it actually connects in with the rest of the site. So there's kind of like, there's kind of like, it allows people, the reader, to dip in and dip out as they please. I was in Wales 2 years ago, and Conwy Castle and the Conwy Town Walls, they have fantastic interpretation. I find really good interpretation. It's, again, these are panels. They have multiple panels for the one side, essentially. All the panels are limited to 75 words. I know because I actually counted the words on several of the panels. And these are actually bilingual. And again, if you have issues with bilingualism, keeping the wordlet down is very important. It's very easy when we're writing interpretive panels to think that there's all this important information that we have to communicate everything to people. But if we communicate everything, we communicate nothing because people won't read it. So you have to really think in depth about what is the core meanings, the core things that are really important about that place to communicate, and then get it down to 75 or 80 words. I really like these ones because they use kind of contemporary kind of headlines to draw in kind of the audience, like English eye land grab. Actually, they were doing it just around the time of the recession was kicking in, so they use a lot of kind of recession-y terms, and that kind of connects with the modern audience. Again, it's because like people in the Middle Ages or whatever period, they weren't really biological different from us. They had the same core needs, but we often think of them as being from another planet. They're not. They have the same core needs. But by having these little kind of things that draw people in, we get people to actually connect with the past. So I actually broke my own rules. This is one of the panels for Rindoon. So we had a number of different issues with Rindoon. It's a looped walk, several kilometers over in an SCA, with a number of archaeological monuments on a working farm with cattle and sheep that roam freely. And so, but the only things that can't roam freely, that aren't allowed to roam freely, are the people. The people have to stay to the path that is not really marked. It's got kind of wayfinders, but there's no real fencing along the way. So we use these kind of signs. They're A1 in size. They're big enough to be seen from one point to another, or to a large degree. They also they kind of just say what it is. They have this sort of kind of kooky little headline to get people drawn in. There's 70 words about what they're looking at. The drawings are fantastic. A series of drawings that were done for the whole town were done by Uto Hogazil for €10,000, and they're amazing. And poor old Uto, we put him to the ringer. Said, Uto, we want the drawings in colour. He doesn't do colour, but the past was lived through colour. And then we have a QR code that links through to a YouTube video that actually is for free. We've got a lecturer, Kieran O'Connor, who wrote these panels. I edited them, essentially. But we did a series of videos on YouTube. You scan those on your smartphone, you go straight through to the videos. They cost nothing. So 10 grand for these, and zero for the YouTube videos. And this is another kind of one of the other panels. Again, the hospital, a medieval welfare system. So now people actually kind of are maybe slightly intrigued. We also had these kooky facts. Did you know 1 in 10 people lived in Ireland to see 50 in the Middle Ages? Again, just to make it a bit more relevant for them. And this is what we did as well. We had these amazing drawings, so we put up these new signs. We also created postcards, and we also created this poster. So again, this poster will be available for locals to buy, for kids to get. And again, I think a speaker made a point earlier on that if you get the kids if you get them, they're gonna be the next kind of inheritors. One of the main points of doing interpretation in Rindoon was to educate more of the locals about the importance of the site. So they will be the kind of curators of that place. And this is one of the signs in situ. It's on a sawhorse because of the cattle and the sheep. It doesn't need any archaeological consents because it rests on the surface. If it's dug into the surface, it has no give. Cattle it's more prone to damage, whereas it has a bit more give because it has a bit more movability. designed by an architect, Mel McGurr, who did a good job. We left them in the yard for a year. It came up pretty well intact. You know, we think that a Panzer tank could roll over them and they'd still be okay. And then they actually, Roscommon County Council also used the same design for Tulsk Dominican Priory. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.